Welcome to Channel 17, the Town of Colonie Government Channel.
Hello and welcome to Focus on Health. I'm your host, Peggy Mello. Today's guest is Paul Jensen Jr., a licensed massage therapist and sports performance coach, the owner of Albany Therapeutic Massage and Sports Performance Center in Albany. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Let's start by talking about your certifications.
Sure. I'm a certified strength and conditioning specialist. I'm a certified corrective exercise specialist through the Czech Institute. I'm a level 4 in that program. I also have a certification as a holistic lifestyle coach and as a certified metabolic typing advisor. And I'm working towards, I've finished the testing and I'm also working towards getting my certification as a neuromuscular therapist.
And you're also a licensed
I'm a
massage
licensed
therapist.
yes.
Okay. And where did you study? You've been sort of all over the place. You have a few degrees.
Right. I have a bachelor's in fitness management from Lock Haven University of Pennsylvania. I have a master's of science in exercise science from Canisius College in Buffalo. And a lot of the certifications that I mentioned are from the Czech Institute.
Mm-hmm.
The certified strength and conditioning specialist is through the National Strength and Conditioning Association. The certified metabolic typing advisor certification is through Health Excel, and that's located on the West Coast as well.
Mm-hmm. Now, you also worked at an Olympic Training Institute.
Yes, during my undergraduate degree, my senior year, we do a professional internship, and I was fortunate enough to be chosen as the first intern at the Olympic Training Center in San Diego. So it was a 6-month internship during, it just was perfect timing to work with a lot of the athletes that were in the games in Atlanta. So it was a phenomenal experience. I would say quite a bit of the athletes that were in the games came through there, whether it be a week's stay or a few days on the weekend or whatever, but it was great exposure to all different types of sports for me. It was a really nice experience.
And one of the people you helped train was Joe Green?
Yeah, Joe Green. Yeah, he won the bronze medal in the long jump in the Olympics. So he was a real joy to work with. He was a great guy, really hardworking guy.
And you also worked with the women's soccer team.
Yep, they were there for a week. That was a lot of fun as well.
And the archery. Somebody you trained won a gold medal.
Yeah,
in archery.
Yeah, Justin. I wouldn't say the archery was a major focus in the strength training, but they were there and did some training in the weight room as well, and we did work with the archery team, and they were actually a resident team. The archery practice range was at the Chula Vista Training Center where I was for my internship.
Wow, that must have been real exciting.
Yeah, it was.
So tell me about your Albany Therapeutic Massage and Sports Performance Center. What do you offer there?
I offer 3 basic services. I offer metabolic typing, which is customized nutrition. So it's nutrition based on the person's genetic needs, and there's an assessment that goes with that.
Mm-hmm.
I also offer customized exercise programs. So whether a person is looking to improve upon performance in their sport or at work, or if they're working to get over an injury, I work with people at both ends of the spectrum. I do corrective exercise to help people that may have pain or are recovering from an injury, and I also work at the other end of the spectrum with people that want to improve their performance in a certain sport.
So basically, you know what muscles are used most frequently when somebody's playing a sport, and then you'll make sure that they work those muscles so that they play the sport the best way. Okay.
Right, absolutely. And before you get into the real sport-specific end of things, you want to make sure that, and we'll get into as we talk in the interview, making sure that they have a good balance, muscle balance, and a good base conditioning prior to doing that.
And they also consult a physician before starting
Yes.
any exercise program,
Absolutely.
right?
Thank you.
Okay. So how do you start a workup or an evaluation on your clients? What do you do? What's involved?
To do a full customized program, the first step is to get questionnaires. Do the questionnaires, which basically provides me with the exercise history, history of injury, current nutritional habits, lifestyle,
Or lack thereof.
or lack thereof. And I look, and that would be the questionnaire ends of things. Once I get the questionnaires, then we schedule the physical assessment, and during that time, we're looking at flexibility, coordination, muscle balance, looking at movement patterns related to the person's work or sport, and we're looking at, we measure range of motions of the major joints of the body, do a posture assessment, and those are the highlights. There's more things as well, but from the top, off the top of my head, that's what comes to mind.
Now, I just have to say, I was very intrigued when I went to visit you at your practice, partially because you were showing me how my hip bones were out of alignment, and one was higher than the other and externally rotated, and my shoulders where one was higher than the other. And of course, what you explained to me was when your hips are out of alignment and your shoulders are out of alignment, your whole spine is going to be not working right. And the other thing that really got me interested was the whole scale thing. You put me on a scale where one foot was on a scale, each foot was on a scale, and somehow the left side of my body weighed 20 pounds more than the right side of my body. And that's just part of what you did when you had me come in there. What would be a reason that could happen?
There could be a couple different things. If there's a pain, body always moves away from pain most of the time. A high percentage of the time, the body will move away from pain. So if you have pain on, I think in your instance you were heavier on the left side.
Yeah.
So if you have pain on the right side, you would move away from that pain. So you'd be heavier on the left. There could be a structural problem with a malaligned vertebrae in your neck. So kind of like the domino effect. Mm-hmm. So if one vertebrae is out of position, all the other ones get out of position, and that can shift your weight. If you have an instability in the sacroiliac joint, in the major joints that connect your back and your hips, that can also cause a weight differentiation between your legs.
And let's say if somebody's body isn't symmetrical, your one leg is longer than the other, that's going to cause probably a lifetime of problems, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I work with quite a few of my clients have had leg length discrepancies. It's a lot more common than people understand.
Right.
And it can be related, over time, especially if a person is an athlete and exposed to a lot of force in their sport where they're doing a lot of running, jumping, and a lot of energy is going through their body, that even becomes more significant. So if you think about your body as being a bicycle wheel, and if some of the spokes are tight and some of the spokes are loose, and you're riding along on your bicycle wheel and you hit a pothole, you have a greater chance of damaging that rim and bending the frame, versus if all the spokes have equal tension, you're going to be better off, and the force will just go right through instead of getting trapped in the rim.
And unfortunately, a lot of us have to sit at computers all day long. And what does that? I know you were telling me about the neck, what it does to the neck muscles and the pectoral muscles and the abdominal muscles, just sitting down. Right. And not really stretching and not really moving around. Do you want to talk about that really quick?
Sure. As everybody knows, we have the seated workplace is the most common workplace now, and we even are sitting a lot in schools even before we get into the work environment. So we are exposed to the chair a lot more than we should be. And by being exposed to the chair, no matter how hard we try to sit up straight, over time gravity's going to take over and we're going to start to slouch. And then an important law takes effect, and that's called Davis's law. So Davis's law says when you bring the attachments of a muscle closer together, the muscle gets shorter and tighter.
Okay.
That's on one side of the joint. On the other side of the body or the other side of the joint, when the attachments get further apart,
Lengthens.
they lengthen and weaken. So then you're talking about that bicycle wheel again, where you're getting short, tight spokes and long, weak spokes, or long, loose spokes, and the wheel starts to wobble, and the force gets trapped in the body. So when we're talking about the chair, the muscles on the front of the body, in general, get tight. So when we start to slouch like this, our pec muscles, because the pec's attached to our sternum, our collarbone, and our arm here, so we're bringing those attachments closer together. So we have that rounded shoulder posture, and then when we get up in the chair, we still look like we're sitting in the chair because all those muscles adapt. The more activity that we do, our body starts to look like it. Form follows function. The more we expose ourselves to whatever activity we do the most of, you can look at your body and say, okay, he's a boxer, he's a gymnast, she's a dancer.
Right.
So it's basically the pec muscles, the deep muscles of your neck will get tight. The muscles in the back here of your neck will get tight. So those attachments are getting closer together. Your abdominal muscles attached to the bottom of your rib cage and the top of your pelvis. So as you slouch down, those two attachments areas. So it's basically like you're doing crunches all day long, and then you go to the gym and then you do more crunches, which just even makes you even tighter.
So basically what you're saying is that the people that have to be sitting all day long at a desk, basically they're working the wrong areas when they go to a gym.
Right.
They should be really working on stretching and doing the back muscles and the other muscles that, I guess, go against the muscles in the front, the ones that are in the back,
right,
in order to be evenly worked out.
Right, and that's where the assessment process comes in so important. When you do, that's why I do assessments with my clients to figure out what muscles need to be stretched, what muscles need to be strengthened to balance the person, and so that their exercise program supports their work environment. And because a person exercises maybe an hour a day or 3 hours a week or 2 hours a week or whatever, compared to 40 hours in their work environment. Right. So you have to make sure what you're doing at your productive time exercising is supporting what you're doing most of the time.
And this is why your evaluation takes as long as it does.
Right.
Because you're going into so much detail. You said some of them have taken 4 or 5 hours, right?
Well, yeah. The longest one is about 5 hours, and that was a person who chose for me to explain every test that I went into and wanted to know it all. So, but in general, they take about 3 hours to do a full assessment.
Okay. So today we're talking about a holistic approach to exercise. Now, what are the major factors to consider when somebody wants to begin an exercise program?
Okay. Well, to simplify things, we look at the big six, and the big six are important because they really are the major considerations that influence health. And when there are deficiencies or problems in any of these six, a person's health is affected, and their exercise program they're not going to be as successful with their exercise program. Right. They may have short-term success, but in the long term, it's not going to support the health and build health with the person to make it a permanent change and a lifelong pursuit. And this is how a lot of people get frustrated with their exercise programs and just say exercise is for the birds, and they don't do it anymore. So the big six are thinking, breathing, drinking, eating, exercise, and sleeping. Yep. So
that's in the order of importance.
That's in the order of importance.
So the most important aspect of the big six is thinking.
Yes.
Okay. So let's start with thinking.
Okay. So thinking has become more popular now with the release of The Secret. If anyone has seen The Secret, it's been promoted has been promoted on Oprah.
It's a very popular book.
Yeah, it's been all over the place. So in that DVD, it talks about the law of attraction, which basically is you become what you think about. So the more the dominating thoughts in your mind will attract into your life whatever you think about more often. So basically, if you think good thoughts, good things will happen. If you think bad thoughts, bad things will happen. So, and this is really important. And a lot of people, in my experience, have a hard time grasping that concept. So fortunately, a Japanese researcher, Mr. Emoto, he did some research with water, and he put water under a microscope, exposed to different conditions. And I just happen to have a picture here today that looks at two different crystals. One of a crystal under a microscope that there was polluted water taken from a dam, a polluted area that was supported by a dam. And you can, in the picture, you can see it. It's very disturbing, very, very ugly.
Yes, doesn't look like water to me.
Right. It looks something disgusting, something rotted or whatever. And then it has a reverend performed a prayer on that same water crystal, and you can see the transformation into a beautiful, looks like a snowflake.
Right.
So if you think, and this is extremely important, because consider that our body is over 70% water. So just our thoughts can perform either these ugly images in our water or these beautiful crystal images of in our water. So thoughts have a huge influence. Another thing to consider is, people are taking a lot of organic supplements, or they try to do the best that they can eating wise. But if they still have negative thoughts and all these things, it doesn't matter if you live on an organic farm and exercise every day and do the best you can, get massage every day. It doesn't make a difference if your thoughts are bad. That's why thinking is number one.
Well, I got to say, sometimes it's hard to eliminate those thoughts.
Right.
It can be a real challenge.
Right.
Just to try to have a positive outlook on a daily basis, because some days it just doesn't seem like it's going to work.
Right. And there are different therapies to help with those things. I'll give you a couple off the top. Bach flower remedies are very powerful things, and you can do a self-assessment. You can go to any health food store. I know Honest Weight in Albany, and I know the Greengrocer up in Clifton Park. They have a Bach flower brochure that you can get.
Right. So is it BOK?
It's just like the musician, BACH.
Oh. Johann Sebastian.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's not the person who discovered them. So basically, Bach flowers are the energy of the plant.
Oh.
And every plant has a certain energetic component that can help you with certain emotions. So a person who maybe has depression can take a certain flower. To give you an example, there's a flower called rock rose that can help a person that has been experiencing a lot of trauma. And that can help them get over that or make them feel better. And they're relatively inexpensive. Another recommendation would be essential oils. They've been used for centuries to help people that have emotional problems.
Is that more like aromatherapy?
Yes. Yep. So you do the diffuser. There's different. You can do the diffuser, but smelling. You can apply them topically, and you can also eat them. It depends on what philosophy that you're practicing. French, German, and the English philosophies. Everything's a little bit different.
Okay.
And the last thing I would recommend would be to do mandala therapy. And mandala therapy, mandala basically means circle. And in native cultures and a lot of religions, circle is a symbol for God. And using circles in working to address a certain problem, when you start to be creative and start to write, kind of symbolize your problem on paper using circles, you're tapping into the right hemisphere of your brain, because the right hemisphere is associated with creativity, and it's also associated with the parasympathetic part of your nervous system, which is your rest and digest nervous system, which is involved with tissue building and building your body back up. So just by being creative and going through this, you can actually help.
Heal
You
the
also
body.
tap into your subconscious mind, which where it holds a lot of these negative thoughts. So by writing on paper and using the mandala therapy, you can actually address some of these issues and get some release from these emotions.
Interesting. Now, number 2 is breathing.
Yes.
I would imagine breathing is essential to life, at least.
Absolutely.
If we stop breathing, we're in big trouble.
Absolutely.
But you talked to me about how there's a certain way to breathe
Right.
that benefits your body.
Absolutely. Getting back to the chair environment, the chair environment is really an antagonistic to proper breathing.
Right.
Because as we sit in a chair and we start to slouch, our diaphragm gets shut down, locked down. We can't really get the expansion we need when we breathe properly. When we breathe, we should be breathing, 2/3 of the breath should go into our torso. We should get expansion through our torso out the front, out the sides, and out the back. So it should be like a barrel expanding as we inhale, and then our rib cage should, if we take a full inspiration, 2/3 here, and the last third should come up here. Sitting in a chair, a lot of people, especially if they're in a stressful environment, become inverted breathers. They start to breathe with their chest. So as they breathe in, their chest rises first, which can cause a lot of problems as far as those muscles that are already tight from sitting in this posture, they even become tighter because they are also involved in lifting the rib cage up. So you can create a muscle imbalance from improper breathing. Another thing to consider with breathing is that it is very much related to detoxification and acid-alkaline balance in the body. So when a person doesn't breathe properly, they tend to become more acidic. So if you have your physician's permission and you wanted to do a simple breath hold test at home, if you hold your breath for as long as you can, ideally normal is you can hold it between 50 and 60 seconds. If you can't hold it that long, chances are that you're an inverted breather and you are more acidic, because the acidic nature will stimulate the reflex to make you breathe. So the longer you can hold it, the more alkaline the person is. So people that are like can hold it 70 plus seconds or have more of an alkaline body.
I just remember when I used to work in the trauma center emergency room, they used to do the blood gases test on the trauma patients, and that was one of the things that it was measuring.
Right.
Was the alkaline and
Acid.
the acid.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so next we have drinking.
Drinking.
How essential is that's very essential, isn't it?
Yes, very essential and very underrated. One of the big misconceptions is that any fluid we bring into our body is as good as water, and that's really nothing could be further from the truth. Water is essential for optimal brain function and to produce optimal work. The body's number one priority is the brain, which is over 85% water, and keeping optimal hydration in the blood. So when there becomes dehydration starts to take hold in the body is the major priorities are those two systems, so it will take water from other parts of the body, specifically the joints. So it will take, because the joints have a lot of moisture in them, the cartilage in the joints have a lot of moisture in their makeup. So it will take water from the joints to keep the brain and the blood at optimal levels. And so over time, what takes hold? Arthritis. A lot of people develop arthritis, but it's really chronic dehydration. That's one of the most common causes of arthritis. And sure enough, when people start to drink the right amount of water each day, which is half your body weight in ounces of water each day.
Really?
Half your body weight in ounces of water each day. The hydration goes up, they get more water into the joints, and the pain is much less. Because the friction component of the joint, when it's dehydrated, increases. It's basically like sandpaper.
Makes sense.
It's like sandpaper in the joint surfaces. And then they wear and tear, and then eventually it's bone on bone. When there's water in the joint, then it's very smooth. The friction component is like, it's like ice. It's so smooth, and there's no problems with any inflammation at all.
So let's just clarify. You're saying water as fluid. You're not saying
Right.
diet soda. You're not saying juices with the high fructose corn syrup, coffee, tea.
Right. None of those work. Those will actually cause dehydration. Any beverage like Gatorade, even Gatorade, which in all those sports performance type things, those are loaded with sugar, and it actually takes water from the digestive tract to digest that sugar. So you're actually dehydrating the body when you're drinking those things to break them down. And
I can't even believe that there's flavored water out there that actually has sodium in it.
Yep.
I really cannot. I'm just disgusted. I
Yep.
really am.
Yep.
Okay. Eating.
Yes. Then comes eating. So, we talk. All these are in level of priority. So drinking, we can't go very long without water before we die.
Right.
Eating, we can last a little bit longer. Women can last longer than men to carry on the survival of the species. Eating, it's very important. The major thing with eating is to stabilize blood sugar. And as we mentioned before, I'm a certified metabolic typing advisor, and everybody is different when it comes to eating.
Mm-hmm.
There's different requirements for every individual based on racial, ethnic background and how our body is currently functioning. So that's why the assessment process in that respect is so important. To give you an example, myself, I'm a protein type, I'm a fast oxidizer. I convert food into energy fairly quickly.
I'm a carb.
Right.
Of course. Go ahead.
So my diet is more proteins and fats. I used to be, because I've always been taught with the sports and everything that you need more carbs for energy and carbs for performance. I was always hungry. I had to eat every 2 hours. I had a really hard time concentrating, and my energy was all over the place. So once I started to adapt to metabolic typing, it changed everything. So I had a 20% gain in the weight room and in all the exercises that I was doing. And I lasted like 5-6 hours between meals with consistent energy all the way through. And it's just...
Does that include snacking?
You
Or
need
you're
to
saying
snack,
not eating at all for
snack
6
as,
hours?
Snack as not eating at all. Not eating at all. Yep. So snacking as needed with the metabolic typing, and it's a no diet, as people if they've come to the library and seen my presentation that I do, so that you can eat as much as you need. And that's what separates metabolic typing from other programs, is that we're focusing on meeting our genetic requirements. And the metabolic typing philosophy says that when we're eating something and we're not meeting our genetic requirements, that's how diseases take hold. So whether we're not eating the right foods or eating the wrong combinations of the right foods, that's how disease starts over time.
And I've done a couple shows on nutrition, and one of the things that she was talking about was how processed everything is now, and the high fructose, the corn syrup, the whole corn element in the diet is just killing us.
Right.
It just needs to be eliminated.
Right. Yeah. Anything processed, how that works with the body is that your body actually has to put nutrition into that processed food, because the processed food really has no life force, doesn't really give any life force. So your body actually has to give nutrition to it to run it through the body. So it actually lowers our vitality every time we eat something processed.
So you're saying instead of living to eat, we have to eat to live.
Right.
We have to think consciously about what effect whatever we're putting in our mouth is going to have on our body.
Exactly.
And be very conscious about it. But I got to say, unfortunately, when you got a busy lifestyle, even if you don't have a lunch with you and you have to go out, it's tough.
Right.
To try to maintain that.
It is tough, and just like anything though, you have to plan. Just like failure to plan is planning to fail.
Yep.
But by knowing metabolic typing, you at least when you do go out, you can make the choices as far as what foods that to choose from, and at least be doing yourself a favor in that respect, and that way you will not suffer just from eating carbs when you should be eating protein. You can easily make that choice.
Okay, the last two, we have exercise.
Okay. Exercise is extremely important for supporting our posture, as we mentioned before. So we mentioned the assessment process, figuring out what muscles are tight, which muscles are weak. And then we stretch the tight muscles and strengthen the weaker ones so that we improve our posture. Now, when a person's posture starts to go the wrong way, our wheel starts to wobble, so to speak. The joint surfaces start to get wear and tear, and they start to get damaged. So people who have posture, and I used to be one of them. I used to be this person that was like this from training improperly with playing football and rugby up into college. My shoulders made all kinds of noises, and I started being in a lot of pain, and I had to actually stop playing. And not until I found out about the Czech Institute, where I did a lot of my training and did a corrective exercise program through one of the practitioners there, stretching the tight muscles and strengthening the weaker ones, I balanced everything out, and my shoulders don't even bother me anymore. So the shoulders are just an example, but the joint surfaces, the balance in the joints, where, for example, your vertebrae most of the weight should be supported on top of the discs in the vertebrae. When your posture starts to change, say you start to get an excessive curve in the lower back from sitting in a chair or whatever, the weight starts to go back to the facet joints, which is only supposed to have 6% of the body weight on each side. So if the weight starts to shift back, then you start to get these degenerative changes in those joints.
Subluxations or something
all kinds of things. But then you can start impinging on the nerve roots, which are not a fun thing at all. Cause a lot of pain, and usually going down the leg, depending on where it's attacking the nerve.
And I remember you saying that there are two natural curves
Right.
in the spine.
Well, there's three actually. You have the cervical curve, which is a C-shaped reverse C this way. The spine is S-shaped. So you have the cervical curve, you have the thoracic curve, which goes the other way, and then you have the lumbar curve, which mimics the cervical curve. And then if you want to even go down, you can say we have four curves because the tailbone and the sacrum mimic the thoracic curve. So you have the cervical curve, the mid-back is the thoracic curve, the lower back is the lumbar curve, and then the sacrum mimics the thoracic. So, and you can see that as a child develops, it starts out as a C shape, and then he starts to lift his head up. He or she lifts his head up. Then you start to develop the cervical curve and the lumbar curve. The cervical curve develops when they lift the head up, and then the lumbar curve develops when the person starts to walk.
Now, most of the exercises that are in the Czech program involve a Swiss ball.
Yes.
Okay, so basically it's kind of like, can you describe it?
Sure.
Big.
Sure. It looks like a big beach ball. Looks like it's romper room time when people come into the office and they see a big ball. But there's different shapes for the different person, and I size them up usually by sitting on them. And when you sit on the ball, your thigh should be parallel or a little bit above parallel, and that's how you know the ball's the right size for you. And the balls that I use are special in that they're very high quality strength, and they can take up to 1,000 pounds of dynamic loading. So with a lot of the athletes that I work with, we lift weights on the ball, so a lot of weight, and so it's important to have that high tension strength.
See, I see these balls and I assume that I would fall right off. I mean, is it easy to kind of roll off and lose your balance?
I've done a lot of exercise classes working with seniors, women seniors, and the oldest person I worked with was in her 80s, and she was using the ball successfully. So there is a little bit of like training wheel time where you're getting used to the ball.
I think I would need the training wheels.
but as a person starts to develop balance, a lot of times their coordination goes when their posture goes, because our center of balance is right here. So it's like our carpenter's level right here. So when the carpenter's level is tilting to one side or out of position, our whole, it's like a threat to the body. The body just feels, hold on, and
Right.
and so so by improving the person's posture, their balance automatically improves.
Yeah, you were saying that, what did you tell me? The eyes, the teeth, and the ears.
Right.
You automatically try to level yourself with the horizon.
Exactly.
So if your shoulders are off kilter or any other part of you, then you're going to be like,
Yeah.
you're going to have a neck ache, basically.
Yeah, well, if you have any problems with those major features that you mentioned, the body will do whatever it can to keep it level with the horizon.
Right.
So, you can just experience this in yourself. If you sit up tall and just bite down, your teeth should fit very nicely together. But as soon as you either protrude your head forward or, talk on the phone and while you're eating your lunch, you can feel your teeth hitting and sliding together.
Oh.
And if you think of that in the primal environment, what's going to happen? The person's teeth are going to fall out, or they're going to get wear and tear, and then they're not going to be able to survive.
Right.
So the body will do whatever it can. If the person's tilted their head to the one side, the body will go into a scoliosis or whatever
Right.
to try to
Level it
bring
out.
Exactly. Get that carpenter's level.
Okay, and lastly, sleeping.
Yes. Sleeping is super important because in one aspect it drives eating. And that's one key component, and the other aspect it deals with is recovery. The recovery we'll cover real quick. And as far as the recovery component, between 10 and 2 o'clock is physical regeneration, and between
10 p.m.
10 p.m.
and 2 a.m.
and 2 a.m. is physical regeneration, and between 2 and 6 is mental regeneration.
Okay.
So between those times, it's critical that a hormone called cortisol
Right.
is not influencing that, because, and as
That's
you
the stress hormone.
right, as you can see in the diagram that we have here, in the morning cortisol rises up about 9 o'clock. It's the highest it is during the day. So cortisol wakes you up in the morning. This is an optimal situation. So cortisol wakes you up, and
Right.
then as we get towards noon, it starts to drop, and then about 6 p.m., melatonin starts to rise up. And melatonin is the sleep hormone.
Right.
And what's important about melatonin is that it unlocks the door to all the hormones that build the body back up. But now if we're staying up late watching TV or exposing ourselves to bright lights or exercising late at night,
Right.
our cortisol levels stay up and melatonin never rises up. So the higher the cortisol, the lower the melatonin. So we have a cortisol and we have melatonin suppression, which there's an overflow into we have a hangover every morning. So we have the melatonin in the morning,
Okay.
and cortisol is what stimulates our appetite. So cortisol is suppressed in the morning because we're getting into our melatonin way too late, and we're missing those regeneration cycles. So what happens is we wake up feeling like we just got ran over by a truck, and then we're not hungry. Okay, we're not hungry because cortisol is being suppressed by the melatonin, and we skip breakfast. We go to work.
Then you're in trouble.
Right. We get to work about 10, 11 o'clock. Our blood sugar drops, and
Right.
we go knock over the nearest vending machine to stabilize our blood sugar. But at that time, the body's already responded to the stress.
Right. The fight or flight reaction.
Exactly. So in that fight or flight reaction, the body will tell the liver, okay, give me some sugar, because remember, the body wants to protect the brain and protect the blood. So anytime there's a low blood sugar, that's a very big threat to survival. So the body will tell the liver to put sugar back in the bloodstream. That stabilizes everything, but the feedback loop is slow to tell us, okay,
Right.
so
Stop.
everything we just ate just gets stored as fat.
Okay, so to summarize, I remember you telling me exercise in the morning, no caffeine at all, because you have your natural cortisol that will keep you awake. What else?
Positive
Television,
thoughts.
no television.
Right.
We should basically be tried as relaxed as possible late at night so that
Yeah.
we can actually go to sleep.
You can watch a pleasant TV show. I mean, some people need to unwind at night, but I would really consider shutting the TV off at about 8 o'clock, because as you get past that time, this time
Right.
of year you can get away with it because we have longer sunlight. But in the wintertime, really try to shut it off early because it's going to affect your natural rhythms.
Okay. Well, I think we've covered the big six. Boy, oh boy. Interesting stuff. Now, you've done a few programs at the library in the past. You just did the No Diet program. But you've also done Achieve Excellence Through Exercise. And the other one was Natural Pain Relief. So hopefully we'll be able to get you back in the library again to do more programs. For further information, we also have a few book titles that we're going to run after the show with the credits. And there was also a website.
Yes, to find out more information about the Czech Institute, where I've done a lot of my certifications, you can go to www.chekinstitute.com.
Okay. And then the big book, basically the majority of the information that you've covered today is in the book that we are going to have in the library, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy by Mr. Czech.
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Thank you very much for coming. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Peg. I appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. We hope to see you next time on Focus on Health.
Welcome to Channel 17, the Town of Colonie Government Channel.